Hey everybody, what's going on and welcome to GNR Central. I hope you guys are having a great day. I'm having a fantastic day. This was probably filmed about a week ago. I'm about to quit my job and start somewhere new after 9 years at the same job, so I'm more than excited. So this is really cool and I hope you guys enjoy this, especially some of you old school Guns N' Roses fans and probably some of you younger fans who maybe weren't really paying attention to the band or maybe you weren't around in the 90s. So K12 on the MyGNR forums was so nice to put this up. So there was a Guns N' Roses fan club back in the day. A lot of bands back in the day had fan clubs, and they don't send you newsletters back in the day because people didn't have internet. Instead, they would send you mailouts, and this is something that he found in his storage. So it's kind of funny when you look at some of the old Guns N' Roses fan clubs that were started like in the 80s and early 90s. A lot of fans said they joined, but they just gave them money and they never ended up receiving anything in the mail. So I think it was handled by like a different company or they outsourced it. And I know at one point Axl's sister also managed the Guns N' Roses fan club. So this is a letter that was drafted, or a package that was drafted May 9th, 1996. Remembering Slash left the band in October of 96, so there really wasn't a whole lot going on with Guns N' Roses at this time. So these are some of the photos he scanned of what was in the package, and it's kind of cool because it's so much better than the Guns N' Roses Night Train membership that they have right now. That's kind of like the equivalent of the fan club that they have nowadays, and I think the Night Train is a waste of money. I don't think it's worth it. I mean, you get your exclusive T-shirts, and you supposedly get first dibs on tickets, but the tickets aren't really that great. But this looks really cool. So this is a little coupon code, or I guess it's like a buck discount they call it. And it's like a thank you for joining the Guns N' Roses fan club. And it says, because you're so cool, we've enclosed this discount coupon for $2 off your next merchandise order. The original coupon must be returned with the order. No phone orders. And they also gives you a coupon expiry date of May 30th. And I guess back in the day, you could order Guns N' Roses merchandise through the actual fan club. And this is some of the merchandise that they had available. It's quite a bit different from what you see in stores nowadays. I've noticed some of the designs are still around, but this gives you an idea of what was happening in 1996 with the band. So a lot of people, I guess, were unhappy with the way the fan club was run up to this point, and even Guns N' Roses addressed it. It's kind of funny that they would actually address issues that fans were unhappy with, unlike now. So here's what the letter says if you can't read it. It says, let's get to the point. Some say all good things must come to those who wait. Anyone who would want anything out of this old life, you got to kick a little ass. Sometimes you got to kick a lot of it. So it's payback time. Starting now, the GNR fan club is going to be the most twisted sucker on the block because you deserve nothing less. And for the last year and a half, we've trusted others to organize the fan club. And like you, we have been let down. Now we've taken back control and are piloting the rocket that is roaring away. Or that maybe it says soaring away. The killer designs are just about complete, and you can be one of the first members of our truly depraved society known as the GNR family. What kind of crap will I get, you ask? How about the access to exclusive fan club hotline with personal messages from the band, tour updates, and all of the latest news and gossip of and about GNR? Could you imagine, which band members would be on that hotline? I'm sure it would be like Dizzy Reed recording something, and that's about it. Maybe you get Matt Sorum if you're lucky. So the privilege to buy preferred tickets to every GNR concert, join exotic travel packages to see GNR perform live around the world, uneffing believable contests, exclusive fan club only merchandise, killer members, basically only starter pack, and a 1-year subscription to our exclusive official GNR fan club fanzine, I guess it's a magazine, and knows what other sick, delectable delights our twisted minds will come up with once this rocket takes off. This is not a publicity thing. It's not a money thing. It's a respect thing. The time and faith you have invested is worth more than the gold and platinum records and the videos and all the videos in the world. And from this day on, things will never be the same. Thanks for your patience and support. We're going to make worth the wait. So. And then this is some of the photos they used to include. I think you could even order posters and photos, not just of the band on tour, but also from like offstage shots as well. So I think they sold a lot of Robert John's photos because you will see it when we get further into the actual video. There's also this kind of like history and rundown they do of the band. It's kind of similar, like if you go to Wikipedia, it's kind of a rundown. There are some cool photos that I haven't really seen before of like rehearsals. You can see Matt Sorum, you can see Dizzy Reed. They also talk about how the albums have done, like how many copies they've sold. So they talk about some of the singles, their peak position on the Billboard charts. And you can see they have like the Spaghetti Incident sold 1 million copies. November Rain sold 500,000 copies as a single. Don't Cry sold about the same as 500,000. So they even had interviews with some of the band members. So this is an interview they did with Matt Sorum, and it says Getting Cellular with Matt Sorum. So they talk a little bit about, how he got into drums. He said he started playing drums at the age of 5. He talked about his first drum kit. He talked a bit about his family and his brothers. He also said, it was asked, is there anybody you'd like to play with that you haven't played with? And he said, I wouldn't mind jamming with Led Zeppelin. Been lucky enough to play with Jeff Beck and Brian May of Queen and Elton John too. He also said about some of the people who are dead, who he'd love to play with, include Jimi Hendrix, Janis Joplin, and Keith Moon, who he said was one of his favorite drummers. He also said, is there anyone up and running, any up and running bands right now that you really like? He said, no, I can't think of one right now. There's also a second page you can see here. There's some more photos of Matt Sorum that you maybe haven't seen before. And he was asked about what GNR was doing in 1996 and what a new album would sound like. He said, we're going to get back to making a more simplistic album. But then again, we're going to be experimental as usual and kick some ass. We were headed in the vein of rocking a little harder. The rest of the interview is like a fluff piece. They also have fans submit questions. And it's kind of funny. So you can actually submit your question to a fan hotline. So you can call into the number, and then once the answering machine comes on, you can leave your question that may be featured in a subsequent issue of the fan club. They also interviewed Matt Sorum's drum tech, a guy named Mike Fasano. So they talked a bit about Matt's drum setup. If you're a drummer, that would be pretty cool to read over. And they also just talk about how he met Matt and just basically what it's like to work with him. He basically said, he was asked, what else can you tell us, the fans, about working for and with Matt? He said, well, it started out with me just helping a friend out, and I'm so happy and lucky things turned out the way they have. Totally appreciate all the support Matt has given me with my own band, and there's so many doors of opportunity have opened through working with him. I've also had the chance to go into the studio with Green Day and Rancid. Being a drummer, I understand how music works, how to properly tune the drums, and Matt respects that. That all happened because we were friends, and we are good friends to this day. So there's also an interview with Dell James, who talks a bit about the short stories he has written around this time as well. So there's a pretty long article. I think almost Dell James got more space in the actual fan club than Matt Sorum did. So they talked a bit about how he got in touch with the guys with GNR, and he talked about how in February of 95, almost 10 years after James and GNR crossed paths, Dell's first book, a collection of horror stories entitled The Language of Fear, was published by a publisher. They say The Language of Fear takes a no-holds-barred look at the uglier side of humanity. Within the 15 stories, many of which were written back when Dell and GNR were basically living together, and Dell's encouragement support came from his friends, especially Axl Rose. There are tales of infidelities, addiction, teen angst, revenge, insanity, and many more dark topics, usually written with a horrific scent. So they also featured like a section where fans could mail in letters. Some of them even wrote poems dedicated to the members of Guns N' Roses, which are pretty cringeworthy to say the least. And then there's also photos that fans sent in of their tattoos or even meeting some of the band members. Like you could see this guy who had some Axl tattoos. There's also this lady who met Slash in Japan, and she showed an autograph she got from him in 1995 when he was touring with Snake Pit. And then the very end of the fan club mail out, they have some more of the GNR merchandise you can buy. So they have some t-shirts, and then you'll see they have some watches they used to sell as well as some hats, coffee mugs, lanyard passes. So they had a good mix of everything, and it's kind of a lot more than what you can buy now from the GNR fan club, although they are slowly releasing new stuff. And then one of the funniest things they used to have back in the day, now I don't know if you guys are old enough to remember this, but I remember when I was a kid, in school we would usually have like a pen pal. Like they'd get a kid from like usually a country across the pond from like, you know, Africa or Europe somewhere, and then you'd be a pen pal with that person. Well, they used to have a Guns N' Roses pen pal. They'd almost like have a classifieds ad, and then they'd list all of the GNR fans, and then you could basically become their pen pal and write to them, which I thought was kind of cool. I don't know how many other bands were basically doing that, but they would ask people in 25 words or less, describe yourself and with what type of person you'd like to correspond. Remember to write legibly so we can understand what the F you were saying. Illegible postcards are tossed. Stop missing out and send your postcard today. Now, if you guys remember back in 1996 when Slash left, Axl put out that fax to MTV and basically said that there's not going to be any more GNR fan club unless the members of GNR, you know, who were in the band at that time, more specifically Matt Sorum and Duff McKagan, basically get their shit together and start working on a new record. And Axl's fax was so incoherent. It said, live from Burning Hills, California, due to overwhelming enthusiasm and dive in and find the monkey attitude, there will not be a new GNR tour. There will not be a new GNR website. And I wish I could see the GNR website back in the day because I don't know anybody who has a screenshot of it. But there will not be any new GNR videos, and there will not be a new GNR involved merchandise, and there will not be a new GNR fan club. They did say there will be a new Guns N' Roses 12-song minimum album recording with 3 new B-sides. And if all goes well, this will be immediately repeated. However, Slash will not be involved in any new GNR endeavors, as far as he's not been musically involved with Guns N' Roses since in April of '94, with the exception of a brief field period with Zakk Wylde and a 2-week initial period with Guns N' Roses in the late fall of 1995. Slash has been officially and legally outside of Guns N' Roses partnership since December 31st, 1995, and it was signed by Axl, Big FD Entertainment, which was Doug Goldstein's company, and Mike Duff McKagan. So that does it for today's video, guys. Thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed that. I'd love to get my hands on more of this stuff just from the good old days and see what GNR was doing with their fan club, because it must have been a pretty lonely time to be a GNR fan, especially in 1996. Their band wasn't really doing anything. It had been almost like a year and a half since their last release, which was Sympathy for the Devil. And, you know, grunge music had taken over, and it was kind of dying in 96. And then we had that huge explosion of like British, bands like Oasis and Blur. And then, this boy band started coming up. So music was changing a lot in the late 90s. So thanks for watching, guys. Hit the like button and be sure to subscribe if you love GNR as much as I do. And go check out GNRcentral.com for the latest GNR news. Take care.
Hey, this is Dizzy Reed from Guns N' Roses, and you're watching GNR Central. Yeah!